They called him Pastor Emmanuel. A man of God, respected, admired, and almost worshipped by his congregation. People traveled from nearby villages just to hear his fiery sermons. He healed the sick, prayed for barren women who later carried children, and spoke with the authority of heaven itself. But behind the pulpit, behind the smiling face, behind the fiery prayers, Pastor Emmanuel carried a secret so dark, so dangerous, that if it ever came out, it would destroy everything. And one Sunday morning, right in the middle of service, the secret was revealed. This is the story of the pastor whose hidden sin shook the entire church. Pastor Emmanuel was not just a preacher, he was the pride of the town. The church he built, House of Grace Ministry, grew from a handful of people to thousands in just 5 years. He preached against sin with passion. He condemned adultery, fornication, lies, and corruption. On Sunday mornings, when he raised his hands, the whole church shook with amens and hallelujahs. Women admired his boldness. Men respected his discipline. Youth saw him as a role model. But only one person, one woman, knew his weakness. Her name was Ruth. She was a choir member, young, beautiful, and full of life. Everyone in the church admired her voice, she sang like an angel. No one knew that late at night, after the choir rehearsals, Pastor Emmanuel would ask Ruth to stay behind. No one knew that for months, the man of God was secretly involved with the choir girl. At first, Ruth resisted. "Pastor, this is wrong. You are a man of God," she whispered the first night he touched her hand. But Emmanuel's words were smooth, his smile reassuring. "Ruth, I am only human. But God has brought us together. This is our little secret. It will never affect the church." One mistake became 2, then 3. Soon, Ruth found herself trapped in an affair she couldn't escape. Every time she tried to leave, Emmanuel begged, prayed with her, even cried. But the truth has a way of refusing to stay hidden. Months later, Ruth discovered something that shook her to the core. She was pregnant. The man who preached against fornication. The man who condemned sinners with fire and brimstone. The man the whole town looked up to, was the father of her unborn child. Ruth wept for nights. She couldn't tell her parents. She couldn't tell her friends. Who would believe her? Everyone adored the pastor. When she finally told Emmanuel, he panicked. "This must not come out," he shouted, pacing the floor. "Ruth, if people hear this, the church will collapse. My ministry will die. Please, get rid of it." But Ruth shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I will not. This is my child. Our child." For weeks, Emmanuel avoided her. He preached with more fire than ever, as if trying to cover his guilt with louder sermons. But guilt is a heavy burden. Even while laying hands on the sick, he could feel his own sin choking him. And then, the unthinkable happened. Ruth gave birth. A baby boy, who looked exactly like Pastor Emmanuel. Same eyes. Same nose. Same face. There was no denying it. For months, Ruth stayed quiet. She raised her baby alone, telling people little. But in a small town, secrets are fragile things. One Sunday, during service, Ruth walked into the church. Her baby wrapped in a blue shawl. The congregation turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Why was she carrying a baby? Whose child was it? She walked straight to the altar. The choir froze. Ushers rushed to stop her, but she pushed past them. She stood before the pulpit. Her voice trembled at first, then grew stronger. "Church, this child you see, belongs to your pastor." Gasps filled the hall. Women covered their mouths. Men shook their heads. The choir dropped their microphones. Pastor Emmanuel froze. His Bible slipped from his hand. No, this is a lie," he shouted, but his voice cracked. Ruth pulled off the baby's cap. The child's face glowed. Under the church lights, everyone could see the resemblance. The church erupted. Some people screamed. Others cried. A few fainted. Elders tried to calm the crowd, but it was too late. The secret was out. Within days, news spread across town. The pastor has a secret child. The man of God is a hypocrite. House of Grace ministry is finished. People stopped coming to church. Some demanded refunds for the offerings they had given. Others mocked the members who still stayed. Emmanuel's wife, Grace, who had stood by him for 12 years, packed her bags and left with their children. She couldn't bear the humiliation. Alone, disgraced, and broken, Emmanuel knelt in the empty church one night. Lord, forgive me. I have destroyed everything. My pride, my lust, my lies, they have ruined me. Tears flowed down his face. For the first time in years, he prayed, not as a pastor, not as a man of God, but as a sinner in need of mercy. In the end, Pastor Emmanuel lost his church, his family, and his reputation. Ruth raised her child, carrying the pain of betrayal, but also the strength of survival. And the congregation learned a painful lesson. That no man, no matter how holy he looks on the outside, is above temptation. That blind worship of leaders can destroy faith. And that secrets, no matter how hidden, always come to light. So, what would you have done if you were Ruth? Should she have stayed silent to protect the church? Or did she do the right thing by exposing the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will keep you thinking long after the video ends.